Welcome back to the Belief Lab. I'm Dr. Wendi Zimmer, and I'm so excited that you have joined me today. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is where belief gets tested, stretched, and proven in real life. If you've been here before, you know this isn't a space for fluff. It's a place where belief meets strategy, research, and action. And I cannot tell you just how blessed I am that you have chosen to invest in yourself today by listening to me and the information that we are going to share together. Every week, we take one belief principle and break it down so you can use it to live, work, and lead with more clarity and more confidence. Because belief isn't just something you have, it's something you practice. And when you practice belief, everything changes. And we're going to start that change today. So as I was thinking about the message for today, I kept coming back to something that I have told myself for many, many years. And it's a mantra of sorts, or generally just a phrase that when things are not going the way I want, or when I feel like I am working so very hard without receiving the results that I was hoping for, then I tell myself, you're one yes away. One yes away. And that's the belief strategy that I want to talk to you about today. Because so often we think that we have to achieve all of these things before we can actually believe in ourselves, before we can prove that we are good enough or strong enough or smart enough or successful enough, and what all of that looks like. But that is not actually true. We have already stacked that belief. We have already proven that we are good enough and strong enough and successful enough and pretty enough and smart enough, and pick the whatever it is that you get hung up on sometimes. We've already proven that. The next step that we are looking for, the next phase in our life, the next accomplishment that we are searching for, truly is just one yes away. One person saying yes to an idea. One door being opened. And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be. But it may just be small. So I want to start today by talking about the psychology behind the word yes. So yes, when we say yes, it's not magic. It truly is psychology. And the science of yes shows us that rejection is not a stop sign. It's simply part of the problem and part of the process. And it's how we look at it and how we frame it, if we see it as a problem or if we see it as a process. So there have been many times in my life where I was turned down multiple times, where I have wanted something so badly and I thought, this is never going to work. I'm never going to get to where I want to get to. You may feel that as well. And everyone you talk to seems to put up a wall, or seems to give you a barrier, or seems to give you a reason that you should not have that thing, or you should not be able to accomplish it. But it's amazing how there's a connection between what you want and how you're going to get it. And that connection is the yes. Because all of those people in our lives that tell us no, that's not where we were supposed to be anyway. We were not supposed to be partnering with that person. We were not supposed to be getting that book deal. We were not supposed to be getting that job. That is not what was in line with what we truly wanted. We just didn't know. And if we had taken one of those no's and it had actually instead been a yes, we wouldn't have gotten what we wanted, because that was not the yes that we needed. But that one yes can truly change our whole life. So we have to frame it as, if I had quit one ask earlier, none of this would exist. If I had taken that no and never did anything else with it, where would I be today? And we can all take a step back and look at things that have happened in our past that we could have never anticipated, that maybe we asked for, maybe we didn't, that without that piece of our lives, we would not be where we are today. If we hadn't asked, or if we hadn't been given 5, 6, 7, 8 no's, we wouldn't have taken that ninth yes, that ninth attempt that got us a yes, that was truly monumental. So there's actually quite a bit of research around this. Cialdini's influence is a principle of commitment and consistency. So the idea behind it is that people say yes after smaller yeses. So let me explain that to you a little bit. We are often looking for this massive yes, like the thing that's going to change our world. So for me, if I get that next speaking engagement that puts me in front of 1,000 people instead of 100 people, like that will make the difference that I want it to make. Or if my book automatically hits a national bestseller list, that will make the difference that I want it to make. But I can't start there. I can't start there because oftentimes I am not in a place where I am ready to attack those yeses, where I'm ready to handle it or manage it or even foresee it in my life. But if I start building smaller yeses and I have little successes along the way, I get little speaking gigs. I put my book into people's hands and they talk to me about how it changes their lives. Those smaller yeses build on themselves and it helps prepare me for what's coming. It helps prepare me for the big things in my life that I'm going to do, the huge difference that I'm going to make, the impact that I'm going to have on others. Where if I start with the giant yes, if, tomorrow Mel Robbins calls me because she sees this podcast and she's like, this is it. I want you to partner with me. I would probably now, Mel, if you're listening and you want to call, please still call. We'll figure it out. But oftentimes something that huge, that giant of a goal, that giant of a dream, if we got it today before we were fully ready, before we had all the small yeses that led us up to it, the anxiety and the stress would truly be overwhelming. Because we have to accomplish the little tasks, get the little yeses along the way to prepare us for the bigger one. There is a concept called the 100 Days of Rejection, and it was put out by Zhao Zhang. And the idea behind it is we have to reframe the no's so it makes us more resilient and more creative. Instead of seeing something as a no, as a barrier, as a wall, as a you should stop doing this, it's a waste of your time, what's wrong with you? Reframing those no's instead to see them as an opportunity. What can I learn from them? What changes can I make? What adjustments can I make? Should I make changes and adjustments? Or should I look at that no instead of a flat out rejection as that was not the right opportunity for me? There's a better opportunity for me along the lines. And that's a piece that so often our brains are just not trained to do. We see rejection as another knockdown and knockdown and knockdown and knockdown. And here's all the things in my life that are not going well. And I keep trying and I keep getting no after no after no after no after no. But it actually, if you look at data on sales, which is a huge place where we talk about yes and no's and making deals, it takes 5 follow-ups with someone to get a yes. It takes 5 times of asking someone to buy something from you or engage in a partnership or something that where you're asking someone to do something with or for you. It takes 5 yeses, 5 asks, not 5 yeses, 5 asks before we get a yes. But what they have found is 92% of people quit by the 4th ask. They just quit because you think, I've asked this person 4 times. I have followed up with them 4 times. I feel like a burden and a nuisance and I feel like I am annoying them and this is not going anywhere. 92% of people quit by the 4th ask. But research shows the 5th ask is what often gets you a yes. Because those continual asks, those continual outreaches, those continual pieces allow you to tweak your message, allow you to tweak your ask, allow you to take the feedback from people and go, okay, in this instance, I didn't get a yes. But what can I learn from this that will help me become stronger the next time I ask? It's a learning opportunity. It's reframing your no's or reframing your maybes or reframing your rejections as a learning opportunity. Neuroscience tells us that rejection activates the same brain pathways as physical pain. Physical pain. So don't feel bad. Don't put yourself down when rejection truly hurts you and you take it personal. Because in our brain, it's the same as physical pain. It's going to hurt. But like physical pain, you are stronger on the back end, and rejection is the same way. Most people quit because the pain of rejection outweighs their belief in the possibility of yes. And they think, I can't go through this again. I can't have another person tell me no. I can't put so much into my idea or my dream or my goal or what I want for myself or what I want for my family or what I want for others. I cannot continue to put all of this work and energy and time and emotion and strength into this because it hurts. It hurts. And that's when they quit. Because the hurt outweighs their belief that they're going to get a yes. So if you expect rejection as part of the process, it stops being a surprise and it becomes a step. It becomes less painful because you realize I'm not going to get a yes every time straight out of the box. As I get better at this, maybe, but especially not starting out. As I'm starting out, I need to give myself grace and realize rejection is part of it. It's part of it. I've got to learn. I've got to grow. I've got to figure out exactly what this looks like for me, for others. And don't be surprised by it. It has nothing to do with you, or very, very little to do with you. It has more to do with the process and what is expected when you're trying to reach your goals. So something to think about is to start treating rejection as feedback, not failure, and ask, what can this no teach me? It's okay to have a day where you're sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be frustrated or angry. It's okay to feel all of the emotions that you need to feel. But after a little while, pick yourself back up. Realize that rejection is part of the process. You learn from your no's and ask yourself, what can this no teach me? Because every no is proof you're closer to your yes. As research shows, takes oftentimes 5 asks, 5 attempts, 5 follow-ups before you get your yes. So every single one is proof that you're even closer. There's a fantastic graphic, if you've seen it, and I can put it in the notes, but it shows, it's just a cartoon, and there's 2 like horizontal pictures. And the top one shows somebody digging through, they're both people in both pictures are like digging through the earth. It's like they're digging a tunnel. And the top one is just digging. And you can see as their tunnel gets longer, they're almost to the gold. They're almost to the prize. And then the bottom one, you see someone who has also dug almost to the prize, but they're turning around and coming back with a speech bubble above their head that's basically like, this is never going to work, or I give up, or I have worked too hard for this. There's obviously nothing here. Where the cartoon on the top is like one more step. They both illustrations, both people in both illustrations are the same distance away from getting what they want. The same distance away from getting the gold or the prize or whatever it is in this illustration. But the difference is one person had the mindset of, what's the point? What's the point? And gave up. And the other person continued on even when they felt like giving up. Because they realize that every step is just proof that they're closer to getting what they want. So the second point that I want to talk about when you think about your being one yes away is that belief fuels perseverance. So let me explain. You don't keep asking because you're fearless. None of us are fearless. That's not why we're doing it. We're not like, oh, I don't care. I don't care if they reject me. I don't care if they tell me no. I don't care if they don't like me. That's actually rarely true. Even if you know people that say that, it's rarely true. So we don't keep asking because we're fearless. We keep asking because we believe a yes is still possible. We believe that if we continue down this path, if we continue refining our message, if we continuing to think about how can I ask for whatever it is that I want? How can I reach for whatever it is that I want? I realize that yes is still possible, so it's still worth fighting for. I may be very afraid of the next ask. I'm not fearless, but I know it's still possible. So I was, a couple of years ago, trying to work through getting a coaching business. And what does that look like? And how do I get coaching clients? And I would have people reach out to me, which is completely fantastic. But there were some coaching clients that I would meet along the way. And I was like, you know what? I could really help this person. This person is in a situation in their life. It's very similar to where I have been. I would love to help them learn from my own mistakes and my own strategies and my own support and all of the things that I've learned along the way. And I would love to help them. And so through conversation, I actually met them on an airplane and we exchanged contact information. And then the next week I got on a call with them. And I, laid out all the ways that I thought I could help this individual. And, I wanted to be the best asset that I could be because I have a proven strategy for increasing people's self-belief, which then in turn increases their productivity and helps them achieve everything they want. And this is exactly what this client seemed like they wanted. And after the first call, I laid everything out and they were like, you know what, this sounds great. This is exactly what I need, but I don't have time right now. And I was like, okay. Well, let's wait a little while. Let's get back on a call. I would love to learn more about what it is you need, how I can help with full-on coaching. It's not the answer. Anyway, long story short, I met with this individual repeatedly on Zoom calls. And at the end, still turned me down. And I didn't keep trying because I was trying to annoy this individual. I didn't keep trying because at that point I was like, I'm going to get this client. I've worked so hard. I've put in so much energy. That wasn't any of it. I knew I could help her. And so through all of that, I had to realize that a yes was still possible. Because if I had thought this is a, wasted effort, I wouldn't have put my all into it every conversation that we had. And that last conversation that we had, I, poured out my heart, poured out my hopes and dreams for her, and she still told me no. And I was like, you know what? Okay. I have asked, I have given her everything that I have. This is not the right time and place for her. It's not about me. It's not that she doesn't like me. It's not that she doesn't think that my coaching would be helpful. It's not the right place and time. And what ended up happening is about 6 months later, she contacted me and is still my coaching client to this day. Because she had to get to a place where she thought it was possible, where she recognized the value. And again, it had nothing to do with me, but because I poured my everything into it, because I believed a yes was possible. I believed that I could be a great resource and value to her. She ended up reaching back out to me. And that was such an emotional process. And you may have had those times in your life as well, where you're like, I am giving this my all. I'm giving it my all at work. I'm giving it my all in my personal life. I'm giving it all to my family because I know what's possible. It's not happening now, but I know what's possible. And the emotional toll that can take on you because you almost stop believing. What's the point? Why do I keep fighting? Why do I keep fighting for this client? If she doesn't want me, that's on her. But I was working for something bigger than me. And that small thread of belief kept me going. And honestly, is what got her back to realizing she deserved to invest in herself. And it's a piece that we don't often talk about, but that belief does fuel perseverance. Believing that it's still possible. If you've ever looked at research from Angela Duckworth on her grit concept, she tells you that perseverance and passion predicts success more than IQ. IQ is just a number. And yes, it definitely is an indicator of some aspects of who we are. But perseverance and passion are what truly lead to success. Grit explains 4 times more variance in achievement than intelligence. 4 times. Sticking with it. Persevering even when you don't want to. So the people that are true achievers, it's because they persevere. They put in the grit. And then if you connect that to Carol Dweck's mindset research on growth mindset, she talks about how belief that skills can improve lead to persistence after failure. Realizing that, again, this is not personal. I'm not getting a yes yet because I've got to refine my message. I've got to ask for things differently. I've got to get a better understanding of what I want and what I'm even asking for. And then I can work on my self-belief, because I can increase my self-belief. I can increase the skills that I need to accomplish what I want. And belief that skills can improve lead to perseverance and persistence after failure. If you look also at research on entrepreneurship, which for those of you out there that are entrepreneurs, this may speak to you. The research shows that 42% of startups fail because they quit too soon or they pivot too late. They quit too soon or they pivot too late. They stop believing that a yes is possible. They're digging that tunnel and digging that tunnel and digging that tunnel. And even though they're so close, they don't know they're so close. They don't know that they're one yes away. So they fail by quitting too early. Or they hold on to something so long without making changes and without making adaptations because they're so determined that they're right and there's nothing that needs to be changed that they pivot too late. Perseverance is exhausting if you don't believe the effort is worth it. Belief is what sustains your grit. It just does. Because at the end of the day, if you don't believe that you're one yes away, if you don't believe that a yes is possible, if you don't believe that you can get what it is you're working toward and working for, then you're going to lose your motivation. Motivation wanes. It is a crazy roller coaster. But you've got to ground it in belief that it's possible. So there's an exercise that I want to walk you through today, and I call it Stack the Proof. And so if you're somewhere that you can pause this podcast, you have something to write down, please do. If not, come back and listen to it later. Please be safe. Do not try to write things down while you're driving in your car. But I want you to do, again, what I call stacking the proof. And you take a minute to write down every yes that you've already received in your life that you can remember. So college acceptances, jobs you've gotten, friends who believed in you, anything where it was like, I was working towards something and I received it. I received it. This builds evidence that yeses keep coming. You already have evidence that you are capable of receiving a yes, that you are capable of getting what it is that you want in your life, achieving small dreams and small goals that you've set for yourself along the way. You've got to stack that proof, though, because too often we just ignore it. I tell my university students all the time, they forget what a big deal it is to go to the college of their choice. They forget. When they were applying and writing their essays and filling out the application and getting letters of rec and putting it all together, it was so stressful. And when they waited to get that acceptance note and their friends were getting acceptances before them, and there was this anticipation and anxiety around, am I going to get in? This is the college I want to go to. It was such a big deal. And then when they got that acceptance, they celebrated and they put pictures on social media of holding signs and holding banners and all of those pieces and wearing, the swag from, in my instance, because I teach at Texas A&M, Aggie swag. But now that they're at A&M and they've been accepted and they're going through the daily grind of going to classes, and some classes they like better than others, and some professors they like better than others, and all the aspects of it, they forget. They forget that there was a day when they could not contain themselves as they were trying to wait to receive a yes from A&M. But it becomes something that we move past. Whether we celebrate the yeses in our lives or not, we move past them because there's always something next. There's always something that we have to work toward next. And that's fine. You can't stop at that. You can't just stop at, I got into the college I wanted. Or I got the job I wanted. Or I got the raise I wanted. You can't just stop at that. You've got to continue. Because that's how life is. We want to continue to grow and build and develop. Just getting into college is not good enough. It's fantastic. But if you stop there, you don't actually do anything with the college acceptance that you got. There has to be action tied to your yeses. You can't just get the yes and stop. You have to take action on them. But we still need to make sure that we don't take for granted all the yeses that we've come and stack that proof. And then I also encourage you to reframe the scoreboard. Measure your progress by attempts made, not just outcomes. We're not going to always get yeses. But how many times did you try? How many times did you fight for something you wanted? How many times have you taken the next step toward what you want? And you may have gotten a no, or you may have gotten a tiny yes, and that tiny yes is building toward the bigger yes, and that tiny yes frustrates you. Because you're like, I don't want the tiny yes. I don't want one more tiny step. I want something huge to happen. I want a big change in my life. I want something monumental. I'm working so hard, and the yeses do not reflect how hard I'm working. And that's okay. We've all been there. But we've got to reframe it and realize that attempts matter too, not just the outcomes. Because many times we learn more from the process than we do from the product at the end. Perseverance without belief is burnout. Perseverance with belief is breakthrough. So your first point that we've talked about is the psychology of yes. The second point we've talked about is that belief fuels perseverance. And the third point I want to talk to you about is positioning yourself for yes. Because yes doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare and position themselves to receive it. You have to be in a place that when you get what you're asking for, you are ready to receive it. So I had, a couple of months ago, I had a speaking opportunity. That was huge. And this episode is not the time for me to walk through how I prep for a speaking opportunity. But the amount of work that goes into speaking opportunities is not just getting up there and speaking. Speaking on stages is the fun part. That's the part where you get out and you get to add value to other people's lives, and you get to share things that you've overcome in your own life. It is amazing. And if you're not someone who wants to be a speaker, it's completely okay. But I will just tell you, from my perspective, it's one of the biggest joys that I have. And honestly, I speak on a daily basis to my students, also one of the biggest joys that I have. But what most people don't recognize is anytime you're prepping to communicate with others, and for those of you that have any sort of job where you are speaking to others, it's not just the final day where you deliver the talk, or you teach the lesson, or you whatever it is. It's all the prep work that is preparing you for what you need to do. There's so much behind the scenes work as a speaker, as a coach, as an instructor that has to happen. That means when the yes comes, you're ready. So when I got my first speaking gig ever, I wasn't ready. It kind of fell into my lap. It wasn't something that I was paid for. It kind of fell into my lap. And somebody asked me, hey, I really like this lesson that you've been teaching your students. Would you come deliver this to faculty? And I'm like, sure. And then I got off the phone with that person and I thought, what is wrong with me? What? What in the world? I can teach to a class of students all day long, but now I'm going to go present this concept to faculty. I don't even know what this means. I don't even know what that looks like. And I was not ready. I was not ready for that opportunity. And I had to do a ton of work after the fact to get myself to that point. And I will tell you that first, what I would consider a speaking gig, I was so nervous. And I did okay. I did just fine. Could have been a whole lot better. I do a much better job now. But I wasn't ready because I hadn't done the prep work to make me ready for the yes that I wanted. Now I have. Now when I reach out to an organization or when someone comes to me and I'm asking, could I come speak to your organization? Could I come talk to your group? Could I come add value to your people? Because I have a story to tell and a message that I think would be helpful. I've already done the work ahead of time. I know my message. I know my audience. I know how I can help people. I know strategies. I know tools. I know all of those pieces. I have done the prep work so that when the organization says yes, I'm like, let's go. I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I still have to do more work on the other end to make sure the message I'm delivering to their audience is very specific and adds the most value to their group. But the front work, the behind the scenes work, all the things I did to get ready for that makes that conversation so much easier. And then when I go deliver a talk, yes, I'm still anxious. Yes, I'm still nervous. But I know that I am ready because of all the things I've done to prepare me for it. Research shows that strategic networkers are 70% more likely to get career opportunities. Why? Because they have prepared themselves. They've gotten out, they've met people, they've engaged, they've practiced their elevator speech, they've practiced, talking to people, telling about themselves, asking others about who they are, what they want, what gets them excited. It's that practice of, I don't have what I want yet. I don't have the job that I want yet. But as I get out and I learn how to talk to people and explain what I want, I'm 70% more likely to get the career opportunity. And many people think that's just because, well, you're out networking, people get to know you, and that is a huge part of it. Huge part of it. But you want to have a good impression. They can get to know you for bad reasons too. Where if you practice, networking gets easier, people like you more, and you're more likely to get a career opportunity. They actually have found, LinkedIn specifically did a study that 85% of jobs are fulfilled through networking. Because you're getting practice. You're getting ready for the yes. Entrepreneurs hear 100 or more no's before they secure funding for what they want. Research on preparation shows us that people who visualize and rehearse success are more likely to receive favorable decisions. And there's more stats that are just like this. As you prepare yourself for the yes, you are building up that capital. You are building up your belief. You are building up a sense of, I am ready for this. This is what this looks like. This is what I want. I know what I want. I've thought through what I want. I know how I'm qualified. I know what this yes will mean to me. And then when you're prepared, you're ready for the yes when it comes. You can't control when yes comes, but you can control whether you're ready when it does. So I have a couple strategies I want you to think about. The first one is expand your surface area for yes. So really start putting yourself out there. What do you want? And in that context, does it make sense to start publishing content to tell people what it is that you want? Should you ask questions of your boss, of the people around you, of the people in your network to help you better understand what it is you're asking for? Engage in communities. Put yourself out there. Make yourself visible. If nobody knows you're asking, then they're not going to be able to give you a yes. So make yourself visible. The second strategy is to sharpen your ask. With practice and with feedback, you should make your ask more clear, more specific, and more bold. Because clear, specific, and bold requests get yeses faster than vague ones. Back to that networking statistic. If you're practicing your message, you're practicing what you want, you practice how you add value to people, then that job that comes along, it's more clear, it's more specific. It's easier for someone to realize what you want and if you're a clear fit. And then the third strategy is to borrow belief. If you're not at that place yet, if you're like, I'm just asking with a hope and a prayer, then lean on the mentors in the communities when your own belief dips. Borrow mine. My self-belief is strong. I work on it every day. It's a work in progress, but it is strong. So lean on people around you that believe in themselves and help yourself see essentially what do they do? What are they modeling for you? What is it that the people around you that believe in themselves, what do they sound like? What actions do they take? And borrow their belief. Because yes finds the people who are prepared, positioned, and visible. Prepared, positioned, and visible. So are you prepared for what you're asking for? Have you positioned yourself? And are you visible where people know what you're asking for? Because that's our 3 prompts for today. That's our 3 points for today. Recognizing that yes isn't magic, it's psychology. Rejection is not a stop sign. The second is that belief fuels perseverance. Belief is what's going to keep you from giving up. And then the third is you must position yourself for yes. Yes is a process. It's not an accident. Belief fuels perseverance when the no's come, because they're going to come. Everyone gets a no. The really good people, the people that are good at accepting no's, are just more used to it. They see them as a possibility. They see them as an opportunity. They see them as feedback, not rejection. And positioning ensures you're ready when the yes finally lands, because it will. It will land. So this week, make 3 bold asks. What is it you want? What do you really want? And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be, I'm looking for a new job, or I'm asking for $100,000 of funding, or it can be small. It can be small, but make 3 bold asks this week, professional or personal, and write down every no you receive and what you learned from it. What do you learn from it? What's the feedback? And then when you get that yes, circle it and celebrate it as proof of perseverance, proof of believing yourself. If this episode encouraged you, share it with one person who's close to giving up. You know those people in your life, because we tell each other, and remind them that they're only one yes away. But there's ways that they can help make that yes come. And then also, if you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review sharing your one yes away story. I may feature it on a future episode. I would love to hear from you, because this podcast, The Belief Lab, is a dialogue between the two of us. Because remember, you don't need endless yeses. You just need the right one, and it can be closer than you think. So thank you for joining me today. I am so proud of you for investing this time. And as we leave here today, know that I believe in you, and I hope you believe in yourself. Have a great day.